moment in the race. There's going to be two races going on. There'll be the race for the stage, and there'll be the race for GC guys who'll be trying to defend themselves. Something can happen here so easily, so it's going to be an aggressive race over here.
800 kilometres, almost said, 800 metres long, but two really nasty ramps, and then it levels off in the middle, which, how does that play?
Well, it plays, I mean, you're going to have lead-outs into it, so every team's going to want to have their number one guy right at the front of the bottom, so it's then going to go really fast that bottom section, might pause in that middle, in the little flat section we can just about see here, and that would be where people would attack normally, because there will be hesitation, unless one team just decides to ride the whole thing, which a GC team might do just in a defensive manner.
Yeah, and after that, as you say, 5 kilometres left to go, and when you get down the other side, and we can't see it through the bunch of riders there, but it shoots downhill, and then it goes straight into a sharp right turn, and after that it's pretty sinuous, so there's not much time to bring anything back, is there?
No, I mean, it's going to be a case of every man for himself. I mean, you're already going to be at 3Ks before you know it, and it's going to be strung out in pieces.
Look at this man making it all the way to the top. Well done, sir. So all day riders have been coming up and getting a massive round of applause here from the waiting crowds. The race, though, they'll be going slightly faster than that, I should imagine. Well done to him.
These boys are riding very sensibly. They're keeping it nice and steady in the chase group, as these two riders are going to share out 1 and 2 at the top of the climb. But with 5 points at the top, if Vauclair gets it, he'll pull on the maillot pois, which is the polka dot jersey, which he's worn before in the Tour de France in 2012 and in 2005 and 2008.
Well, it's going to go down to a serious count. There's still a lot of big climbs to go towards the finish. Vauclair will get himself 5 points, but Lemoine has been pretty consistent out on the race to date. There's 5 points for the first man to go over the summit, but let's not forget there's still 4 categorized climbs to go before the finish. And now this is the man who started the day in the yellow jersey, the leader, Marcel Kittel. He's having a hard time there, with congratulations coming from Romain Felu, another sprinter on the block.
Well, as we watch these two riders coming up, in fact, it's going to be 1 point in arrears. And the yellow jersey, well, when you look, he's out, because he's got a flat tyre for Marcel Kittel at the back of the race now. But Vauclair needs to get the 5 at the top. He puts him in second place, a point behind the new leader at the moment, Lemoine. But he's still got time to add to his point score with 4 more climbs still to come after this. Well, he's away just as a champion of France gets up alongside him. Meanwhile, life here at the back. Richie Porte is cutting through now. As he comes through the traffic, he's making his way gently up towards the leaders again. Terrific riding by Porte.
Well, Porte had a little bit of a problem. He was involved in that crash. He's having the hardest ride to get back into contact, because he's trying to ride through all of the riders who are being left behind at the arrière du peloton, the back end of the main field. The leader of the points competition at the start of the day, Brian Coquard, wearing of the coat. Vauclair seems to have disappeared. There's a bit of chaos going on right now, as Blel Kadri is now the leader. He's a great climber, Blel Kadri. He's looking for 5 points. Let's not forget, Cyril Lemoine of Cofidis has 6 points total on today's stage this afternoon. Wearing 172, trying to go and get himself a few more points. Nicolas Edet of Cofidis, who got himself some points on the stage yesterday, and the winner of the King of the Mountains competition at the Vuelta a España, says, mate, I'm having a bit of this action as well.
Well, is coming from amazing quarters at the moment. Kadri wore the polka dot jersey for a single day last year in the Tour de France, and he won't get to wear it at the top of this climb, but there's still room to improve with the mountains which are left today. This has got to be the biggest crowd the Tour de France has ever seen on such a small climb like the Côte de Holme Moss. Only second category, the wind whipping across from the left of our picture. I don't know what happened. We didn't see the detaching of Vauclair, but now Vauclair is going to see another Frenchman coming up on his back wheel here, because this is Edet. And it's the summit for Blel Kadri, 5 points in the bag, and can he add to them and take the leader in the King of the Mountains? He surely isn't going to try and go for gold now. He's inside 60 kilometers from home. And look at this, and Nicolas Edet just about gets over the top of Vauclair. So he gets second place at 3 points.
Yes, well, now they've got the rapid descent off the top of Holme Moss. We're making our little incursion into the Greater Manchester region now as we drop down. Well, this is Derbyshire actually, as we drop down into Woodhead. The gap between the leaders and the main field, well, it must have dropped quite dramatically. We're looking for the top. It's 40 seconds so far, and it's a long way back to the yellow jersey, though. He's almost 3 minutes behind before they get to the top of this climb.
Well, he's had the bad luck to be dropped and then a flat tyre. This is the top here. This is also the border with Yorkshire and Derbyshire. The descent here is ultra fast, and they will hit 60 miles an hour on the way down. There's hardly a bend, just a little bit of flick left and right as they head down to the Lady Bower Reservoir. Well, as they go over the top, the peloton, 75 seconds is the gap. So Sky have ridden this very sensibly here, and they've made sure that Richie Porter's had the chance to climb back to the peloton. As we look at the men going over the top who are dropped.
Yes, this is the damage that's been done by Holme Moss. 55 kilometres to go, 23 seconds of the chasers behind Blel Kadri, 1:15 to the red jersey group, which is containing Jens Voigt, white jersey of Peter Sagan and the rest of the big challengers. But another 2 minutes back almost to Marcel Kittel. Now he's going to have a very hard time to get himself back into this race, because this is the very fast descent away from Holme Moss down into Woodhead. They'll turn left at the bottom of this descent and head up to Woodhead Pass. It's not a categorized climb, but it's a long false flat of around about 3 kilometers long. Ede getting himself 3 points, Vukler 2 points, Tony Martin a single point. So Ede will start to climb up in the overall standings there. Cadre climbs up into second place, still looking for a single point, but the way this man is riding, well, he may well stay clear for a little while yet.
He's got to head over to Mid-Hope Stones now, and that'll take us just 34 kilometres to go. So he's got to stay up there, Paul, for another 20 kilometres or 12 miles before there's any more points available. That might be difficult. This is the long sweeping descent away from the top of Holme Moss as we race down to the road where we'll see what's known as the Lady Bower Reservoirs, but it's also the Woodhead Reservoirs down there. And this is the main water catchment area here. It's also where we used to use those reservoirs for training the dam busters with the bouncing bomb.
That's right, Sir Barnes Wallace, who designed the bouncing bomb. They used the reservoir of Lady Bower because there are 2 turrets at the end of the reservoir which resembled the place that they wanted to go into, and they flew alongside this valley to practice dropping the bombs for that famous dam busters exploit. And
skimmed the waters and then broke the dam wall. Yes, now this is the high speed down now. You can reckon on the descents here, you're touching 60 miles an hour. These boys are going to slip the bigger skiers in now as they continue to fly.
Tony Martin's made the junction there. Well, the gap between Kadri there is up to a half a minute. He's a great climber, but he's picking up a tailwind on the slopes of Woodhead Pass here this afternoon. 5 chasers there. The main field is half a minute behind them as well. I can see a little bit of a general regrouping happening, but it all depends on whether or not the main field... Well, obviously, Peter Sagan is in this group because Team Cannondale in the lime green jerseys, they're quite happy to set all of the tempo. They feel that today they've got a very good chance of getting the yellow jersey. Kirienka in there just ahead of Geraint Thomas. Chris Froome, I think, will be quite happy with the situation this afternoon. But there's around about a 2-minute gap out to Demar, the French national champion. Kittel, the yellow jersey at the start of the day. Kittel, very similar to the second stage of the Tour de France last year, struggling with the climbs. He came out, got the win on that first stage. But like many of the big sprinters, it's a little bit like the difference between a 100-meter sprinter and somebody who runs the 10,000 meters. A completely different kind of body, big heavy body for Marcel Kittel. He's got to drag about 85 kilos over these climbs compared to somebody like Blel Kadri, who weighs in at about 55 kilos. Lots of concentration on these riders' faces now. Just having a quick glimpse there into the face of the rider from BMC Racing, and that looked very much like Peter Velets, looking very concentrated. They're quite happy, I think, having Marcus Burkhardt. And again, it looks as if Joaquim Rodriguez decided it's his job to look after the lads here on a day like today. I think he's just trying to ride himself into some form on this second stage.
I think that's exactly what he's doing. He's demoted himself to a helper in the stage today. And there's podiumed in the Tour de France. As we look down to the slopes again now. Incredible race it has really turned out to be today. The gap is nudging up a little bit now, and I'm wondering if this might be the selection for the day. Because long-term, Team Sky, they've had to see Richie Porte recover. They won't want to extend him much more now before the finish here. This is the man who's taken his chance from that front group, Blel Kadri. This is a group, remember, he's been in the lead since the start of the race today, and there's only 30 miles, 48 kilometers left to ride now. So he spent 94 miles rather in the lead today. It's going to hurt, especially towards the end. I can't see him surviving the roads which lie ahead.
No, there's a long way to go, and there's still a lot of climbing, and we can see there's a lot of the big leaders in the race are in that main peloton behind him. And it's as if the race is 500 meters from the leader to the next group on the road, and another 500 meters to the race containing all of the contenders. That's about 29 miles of racing to the finish. They're not far away from the top. It's a beautiful climb, this, by the way. It's a big power climb. You can get over the top of this on a massive big ring, and you drop down over the other side. Very shortly be back in Yorkshire, and then all the way down to the finish in Sheffield.
Well, this is one of the busiest roads between Sheffield and Manchester on a normal day, totally shut down for the passage of the Tour de France. The real objects of the day as we get down to Mid-Hope Stones into Bradfield. Beautiful town, not far away from the finishing line really as the crow flies, but the way we're going, it's still 26 kilometers from the finish when they top out at Bradfield, and there's 2 more climbs still ahead as well.
We spotted Simon Gerrans there, Phil, so despite that nasty little crash yesterday with Mark Cavendish, he's still in what I think is probably the most important group on the road. Yes, there's a skirmish off the front with Blel Kadri and then the chasers with Tony Martin there, but Simon Gerrans is in a good position here, and if he's managed to ride that pain out of his body, it's going to be a tough man to beat on a stage like today. And the one name that probably could catch him unawares, of course, is his sort of arch rival, I would say. If you go back to races like the Santos Tour Down Under and races like Liège-Bastogne-Liège, that would be Alejandro Valverde.
Well, Kadri, the leader on the road, he finished at the same time as everybody else yesterday, so that makes him the virtual leader of the Tour de France right now. And it would be a tremendous coup if he were to pull on the maillot jaune tonight, that's for sure. And tomorrow it really should be a day for the sprinters. It's a fairly flat road from Cambridge down to the Mall and outside the finish there with the backdrop of Buckingham Palace. And so he could well defend if he could just get to the finish today and get some real time over these riders. Marcus Burkhardt then, the teammate of TJ Van Garderen, the American leader of BMC. 2 riders from Europcar, they've made a bit of a coup here.
Well, Thomas Voeckler likes this kind of terrain. It's ideal for his riding ability, and you can see a lot of riders at the front of the peloton there with the dark green jerseys. They're from Europcar. They're trying to disorganize the chase at the front end of the peloton to give the advantage to their man Thomas Voeckler and Cyril Gauthier, who've got themselves into the breakaway. Second place rider there from Europcar is Pierre Rolland. He's a rider who, after 4th place in the Giro d'Italia in the early part of this year, is looking to confirm his chance to be a top contender for the Tour de France for the French.
Oh, you've got to take your hat off to Blel Kadri. He must have sensed he had to springboard away. He knew the peloton were coming at the base of Holme Moss. He jumped right at the bottom. He got joined for a while by Voeckler. I thought that would finish off Blel Kadri, but it did the opposite. It finished off Thomas Voeckler for the moment anyway, and he's been pushed into the chase group. Still out in the wild countryside, high above Sheffield. We're seeing the peloton of the Tour de France now grouping together again. In fact, the weather has improved tremendously as the day's gone on. It is quite warm now for the riders. Johan van Sommeren setting the pace for Garmin Sharp, and no doubt for the young American Andrew Talansky to keep him in the thick of the action. This is live at the back of the race, back of the peloton. Florian Vachon in his first tour there in white.
Well, taking a chance here to get topped up with liquids, riders dropping to their team cars. They know that they've still got about 25 kilometers or so. This is a good move here because Coquart is about to make the junction.
"45 seconds. Can there be anybody left in Yorkshire who's not watching the Tour de France, as we now see Blel Kadri perform to the public as he races towards Sheffield. He's still got 25.5 miles to race, and he's hanging on. This is the chase of 5. Burkhardt, Tony Martin, Cyril Gauthier, Nicolas Ede, Tommy Vauclair. And they're riding just on 37 seconds back, and there's the names.
But there's only about 10 or 15 seconds separating this 5-man group from the front end of the race, containing all of the pre-race favourites. There you can see now, all of a sudden, Alberto Contador's team are very keen to rip up the pace. So the race situation now, one leader, Blel Kadri of France, riding for AG2R La Mondiale. This is a group a lot further back down the road, 5 minutes away from the leader. The man who won the stage yesterday, but I think he probably much expected that. He is a sprinter, he's much heavier built than the riders who can go up these climbs very fast. Alongside him, the French national champion as well, Arnaud Demar. Won that title last Sunday, not too far away from the future scope. So, as I say, we're dropping down. We're not far from Barnsley. Barnsley would be, if you were to continue down the A628, they would drop into Barnsley and keep heading across toward Doncaster. We're going to turn right here once we go through the small town of Langsett, and then head down towards the next couple of climbs of the day. Yes, Barnsley is not far away from here. The big wind generating units in the background, but there's a massive big chase on in the peloton. The gap now is starting to close. It's only 17 seconds between Blel Kadri and the 5 chasers, and 20 seconds back to the main field. I think we're going to see a general regrouping very, very shortly. And interesting to note, there's Mick Rogers just putting his head up there in 3rd position in the Tinkoff Saxo squad, and he's a man who finished 5th on the stage yesterday, despite the fact he was really only riding to keep himself out of difficulty.
Different day today. I think Movistar are going to present themselves as the team to beat, and Valverde has said he wants to win this stage. We'll see if he can. He's their team leader and second in the National Road Race Championships in Spain. We'll see what happens, but there's the peloton. These are the 5 chasers, Burkhardt, Martin, Gauthier, Ede and Vauclair. They're going to be wiped out, and then the chase will be looking for that lone figure from the AG2R team of Blel Kadri. Now, once we get around the corner, we're going to start shortly the climb of Mid-Hope Stones. It's another 3rd category climb, and I think that's where we're going to see a changing of the guard at the front. Have you noticed, Paul, that the white jerseys, well, the sort of white jerseys of Orica Green Edge are very prominent now, and I think they're setting this up, if they can, for Simon Gerrans.
Yes, not only is Simon Clark is in this group, Simon Gerrans is in the group, and I think I just spotted Sven Tuft moving to the front, the Canadian national champion. So yes, if Simon Gerrans has recovered from that accident yesterday, this is a very good stage for Simon Gerrans to try and get himself the victory. It suits his temperament of riding right down to the ground. Does this final run in towards the finish today for Simon Gerrans. It was on the opening days of the Tour de France last year that Gerrans got himself a very smart victory. It was into Calvi. It was his 2nd stage victory in the Tour de France. It's his 9th participation at the Tour. He wore the yellow jersey because of that for a couple of days, and that breakaway. And Simon Gerrans, I think, hopefully will have recovered. He received an apology from Mark Cavendish overnight. Cavendish sought him out to apologise for the accident, so it was completely my fault. I was trying to jump through a gap that wasn't there, and he was just a little bit too nervous. That is Sven Tuft on the front. Looks over his shoulder. Yes, there's a good organisation coming now from Orica Green Edge. 36 kilometres to go. That's Geraint Thomas out of the saddle there for Team Sky. They're all charging now. We're about to turn off. There's the right-hand turn. That's Langset, the reservoir in the distance there as they turn off, and now we're heading over to the next climb of the day. That's Langset Reservoir. And that reservoir, by the way, was built between 1898 and 1904 and is looked after by the Yorkshire Water Board, fed by the River Don. And it supplies water to Sheffield and Barnsley. 51 hectares. Bonjour, the tour. Anyway, so this is the leader, Blel Kadri. They've pulled back the 5-man group that were halfway across the gap. There's a sole leader now. Blel Kadri is advantage around about 15 seconds. It's Team Sky on the right-hand side, and it's Team Orica Green Edge. That's Michael Albercini. Now, Robbie McEwen, who used to race for Orica Green Edge, tipped to Simon Gerrans or Michael Albercini for a good finish on today's stage. The only negative thing you can say about Gerrans is that little crash he had yesterday is not the ideal preparation for a race finish, and especially a stage finish of the Tour de France. Kadri struggling now after that long break. Well, he's got himself 5 points in the King of the Mountains competition. That's currently being held by Cyril Lemoine, but there's still 4 more climbs, including this one, Mid-Oak Stones. So, échappé terminé. The breakaway group now has been caught, so it's Gruppo Compacto. There he is, number 86 over on the right-hand side. The yellow jersey is an awful long way behind now for him. It's a question of survival, try and conserve as much energy as possible, because tomorrow's kind of stage, the race route tomorrow, suits another revenge victory for this man in the yellow jersey, Marcel Kittel. And what a place to finish. Beautiful flat boulevard, wide as you like, in the Mall, with Buckingham Palace as the shadow of the finish. A couple of teammates up there with him. 107 is the Chinese rider on Team Giant Shimano, Ji Cheng, first Chinese rider to participate in the Tour de France. As we get the farmer's been quite busy there with his tractor, Allez TDF, and that means go for it, Tour de France. Tony Martin out of the saddle. German time trial champion, road racing champion is Andre Greipel. He's way off the back at around about 5 minutes. He's in the same group as Bernie Eisel, Mark Redshaw and Marcel Kittel. All of the big sprinters, the heavier set riders, just couldn't take the pressure of the repetitive nature of these climbs throughout Yorkshire. We're about 1.5 kilometres now to go to the summit of this next climb of the day, Mid-Oak Stones. 12% is the gradient at this point. A little bit of calmness. There's Alejandro Valverde over to the left-hand side in the dark blue jersey. He's a favourite for a lot of people here this afternoon. It certainly is his kind of finish. He's had a great season so far this year.
Daniela Benatti on the right here, sprinter on the Tinkoff Saxo squad. Those legs have just cracked, I think, and a little bit more bad luck here for the same team, because that is Michael Moorcock, the Danish rider, going backwards. Another one here is Hernandez. Wow.
Well, it just indicates, Phil, that a lot of these riders have just been hanging on in the group, hoping to survive just a little bit longer, because they want to get to a reasonable point towards the finish where they know they're not going to get eliminated. And as you can see, with 35 kilometres to go, that's still just inside an hour of racing. You've got to be very careful.
This is so hard now. The local cyclist told me weeks ago, Paul, this would be such a hard end to the day. And look at how these top boys are cracking up off the back of the peloton. And we've still got the climbs to come. This is still Mid-Oak Stones. And look at that. The crowd is looking a little bit cloud showing there. But as we look, as though Alex Howes has moved to the front here, the rookie American, who is enjoying his first Tour de France, driving at the front. But they may sense, you know, this could be a surprise result now. Jens Voigt here, gritting his teeth as well and going backwards.
Yes, he was with Ted King, the rider from Cannondale, who's done an awful lot of work early on to set up something for Peter Sagan. Now, obviously, there's a little thought tip. Talansky there in second position. Alejandro Valverde not very far away. Tony Martin in third place, looking very, very strong. Obviously, these riders realise how difficult this is. Brian Coquard, the leader or the wearer of the points classification, fourth on yesterday's stage. He made a dramatic comeback down Holme Moss, But he's like, yes, I know how you feel, mate. It's very, very hard, these roads in Yorkshire.
He's going to be a character in the years to come in the Tour de France. Brian Cocker, it's his first tour. Those clouds are a little bit grey, but Garmin have got a plan here. Talansky, they all know about him now after he won the Dauphiné race just before the start of the Tour de France. And there he is in second wheel. His first tour last year, finished 10th. A lot of people are putting him on the podium in Paris. Can he prove to be that good? Well, right now he's looking very good on the wheel here of, I think it's Alex Howes there in the sunglasses. The crowds are with us as we now come towards the top of Mid-Hope Stones.
Well, they've announced the colour fairly early on of Garmin Sharp. There is the Meilleur Grimpeur, the king of the mountains point. It's a third category climb as we come over to Mid-Hope Stones here, and they're, I'm not sure whether they're going to sprint it out here because they really are ripping up the pace. They're trying to eliminate as many riders as possible. I can still see that Rui Costa, the world champion, is fairly prominent in that group here. I think we're going to see some little gaps appearing. Talansky going over the top there in second place. Chris Froome right at the front end of the main field with a couple of teammates around him. The pressure is really being applied on only the second day of racing here. Every day is an opportunity to get a little bit of time. And now, as we go over the summit of this climb, you can see technical descent away now from Mid-Hope Stones. As they go down this descent, not far away now, they will come up to the next climb, which will be a fourth category climb. They'll go through High Bradfield and over the climb of Bradfield. And again, as you can see, narrow racing roads, these great racing roads. The main field stretched out into a very long line, 33 kilometers to go to the finish. That's 19 miles of racing. It was Slachter, the first rider over the top there, just ahead of Talansky. Tom Jelle Slachter, former winner of the Santos Tour Down Under. He came out and proved to be a very good sprinter when he won the stage into Stirling. We thought that was a little bit of a surprise, but he went on to confirm that he was the top man when it came up towards the finish. So there's a confirmation of the result over the top of that climb. Slachter getting himself first position, and behind Slachter was Andrew Talansky, but Talansky just riding at the front to keep himself in a position so he could start this descent.
As we look at the elite men now battling on the climbs, we're heading towards Bradfield now. This is what they call the steel stage because of these closing kilometres, and the Tour de France has taken a liking to Yorkshire here. The elite have come to the top. There's Simon Gerrans in white, the man that finished up on his back in the sprint yesterday, and also in this group the young American Talansky, who could, if things go right, also be on yellow tonight.
I'll tell you what, Phil, there won't be too much of a traffic jam coming to the finish line today, and they won't have to find their way through a big bunch of riders because this is a serious sort-out. There's John Atapuma at the back there, the Colombian rider from Team BMC, but just look how riders are getting spat out of the back of this group because we've got a very strong wind coming over from the right-hand side there. Simon Spilak, the Slovakian rider on Team Katusha, he's just popped. There's not many left in this group. The man on the front with the white sunglasses is Geraint Thomas. He could have a chance of winning this stage himself, but he's not thinking about himself today. Team Sky are here for just one reason. That's Chris Froome.
Up towards the top of Bradfield here, and another big crowd as they come up towards the summit here as we go into 30 kilometres to go to the finish. I don't think this is Bradfield actually at the moment as we hit the 30 kilometres to go to the top. As we've gone further back. This is back to Mid-Hope Stones with the group of the yellow jerseys quite a way down. Confirmed at 7 3/4 minutes at the moment for Marcel Kittel, and if he was thinking he might pass his jersey to his teammate John Degenkolb, well, he's also gone off the back of the big bunch up ahead of him.
Well, in that group with him was Alexander Porsev, the Russian national champion. We've had a real sort-out here this afternoon. It all happened in the space of 4 or 5 kilometres, all because of the American team Garmin Sharp, who all of a sudden put the screws on everybody, and they've decided they wanted to have a little bit of a decanting process, and they've certainly done a good job so far.
What a superb racing. You don't need the high mountains of the Pyrenees to break up the field of the Tour de France, that's for sure. This peloton has just imploded in these last few kilometres. There is a very select group, and the man who did the damage was the Dutchman on Garmin Sharp, Tom Helter Slachter, and he did it for his young teammate in his second tour, Andrew Talansky, and Talansky nodded to him earlier on to keep going, I'm feeling fine, and he's in that front group. Wait for a move from Talansky.
Right, 29 kilometres to go. That's less than 18 miles of racing. Everybody now is scrambling to stay in contact or try and get themselves back into this race. Geraint Thomas, G is his nickname, looking at the start of the Pied de la Côte de Bradfield, or the start of Bradfield. 2 kilometres to the summit of this climb. Geraint Thomas taking on board plenty of liquid there. Not many men left in this group. I make it around about 30 riders. There's a few, there's a few more scrambled on there as they've started to ease back a fraction. Contador's over to the right-hand side. This is what it looks like at the back of the race if you're trying to recover and keep yourself in contact. One man who's going to be very dangerous on the running down towards the finish, though, today is going to be Alejandro Valverde. Sky have actually managed to get a large number of riders into this group. Because there, just at the back there, was Mikel Nieve. He's an excellent climber. He'll be important later on in the Tour.
Well, as we say goodbye to the very high moors, we still have some very nasty little hills towards the finish, and the clouds are quite dark up on the moors now. There might even be some showers up there, but we should be lucky. Still okay down at the finish in Sheffield, where the crowd is again enormous. I think the whole population of Yorkshire has seen the Tour de France in these past 2 days. This is the elite group. It looks to be about 30 riders strong, and it will get less. Still the big hills to come as we go towards the finish. We've got Bradfield, Outy Bridge and Jenkin Road. It's Jenkin Road at the end, the Category 4 climb, which will decide this race today, I think.
Well, it's been up and down all day, hence the term uphill and down dale. We're going over some real tough racing roads. Team Sky rode this route in reconnaissance to find out just exactly what it was going to be like, and everybody knew stage 2 was going to be rather special. Tricky roads, you need to know the roads, and now we're starting this climb. This is the climb of Bradfield. If I'm not mistaken, Bradfield is a small village in part of the Peak District, and it's a beautiful part of the world.
It is.
Geraint Thomas, not worried at all, is he?
Its Gothic church is called St. Nicholas, dating back to the 15th century, but right now these are the modern-day cyclists, and it's Geraint Thomas, the only Welshman in the race here on the right of our picture. He's got Chris Froome with him, but it's all looking good, and Nibali has got teammates here as well. And no surprise to the man in white down there, though. That is Simon Geraint, and maybe his back is no longer stiff and hurting. He's right in the mix down there.
Well, Simon Geraint is a tough character. He's been around for many, many years, and he will have looked at this stage, and I think going back to last year when he won the stage, I think it was into Calvi in Corsica, and he realizes the opening days of the Tour de France are extremely good for him, and with this kind of profile, all he's got to do is sit there. The fact that he's still in this group, Phil, means he has recovered from that accident yesterday. I think he's going to be all right.
I think you're right, and still the crosswinds blow here, the puffing and blowing on the right-hand side of Geraint Thomas. All they're interested in is making sure that Chris Froome, he's the 4th man in the black jersey as we look at the picture here, as they go up the climb of Bradfield. There's never been a day like this, Paul.
Just on the back there, there's a little name to conjure up down towards the end. Opportunist if it comes together into that final climb of the day. Jan Bakelants wearing number 72. Geraint Thomas, look at his face. It's pure concentration.
Bakelants won stage 2 last year and got the yellow jersey. Well, we got a repeat of yesterday's stage from Corsica with Marcel Kittel. I wonder if Bakelants will make it deja vu again today. Well, somewhere in this area, I was told there was a big screen and a huge campsite, and this was going to be the scene of a big ball. I think that's the way it has been here. That flag in the distance, by the way, the black of the white cross, a lot of people won't know what that is, but it's the flag of Cornwall. And they've come a long way to watch the race in Yorkshire too.
Two team helpers there over the top of the climber, passing up possibly the last bottles for these riders. You can take bottles from the team car up until 20 kilometres to go, but the way the race is unfolding here, Phil, the team cars could be a few minutes behind the riders, which is why the team helpers have got in there to pass up these last bottles. Number 72 is the man I was mentioning just a little earlier on, Jan Bakelants. Won that stage on the island of Corsica as well to get himself the yellow jersey.
So Jan Bakelants on the back, they're over the top of the coat to Bradford. We couldn't even get a camera through to tell you who went over first, but there's the answer. Andrei Grivko got the point.
And there he is, Grivko on the front. A small group of riders, 25 kilometres to go now. And once they go through that 25 kilometres to go, Bradfield, the next climb is going to be Outer Bridge. And that's a climb of 1.5 kilometres. Then we're not far really from the outskirts of Sheffield. You can see Sheffield pretty much in the distance there. That's where we're going to. In fact, that could very well have been Rotherham we were looking at down in towards the valley. Rotherham and Sheffield not far apart.
They all look the same now with all these people.
They certainly do. And I tell you what, it's 2 minutes and 43 seconds was the time of the ascension of the Côte de Bradfield, as they were saying in French. And
well, not with a Yorkshire accent.
No, I think I'm going to adopt that French with the Yorkshire accent. That could be something that could become rather popular. Yeah, Bakelants is having a hard time staying in contact here, though, but he's keeping his energy and his nervousness all to himself as they go through 25 kilometres to go. That group has swelled. A few moments ago, it was about 25 riders. I've got it up to about 40 now.
Well, they've come into a headwind for the moment now, and Geraint Thomas is still driving force here for Team Sky. They've got the team lead after yesterday, and they've got more than 3 riders here, so they could well maintain that team lead going into day 3 tomorrow in England as we race from Cambridge down through Epping and Redbridge and on past the Olympic sites into the Mall in the centre of London. An epic end to 3 incredible days of cycling with the Tour de France in England. 24 kilometres to go now. They're going through these kilometres in just about a minute because we're descending downhill. Bakelants is making a meal of this. He's desperately fighting to get back on. He was a last-minute selection for his team, or not so much a last minute as the last one to be told he was in the squad, and he wanted to be in the squad after his appearance last year.
Right, well, I've just got confirmation, Phil. It's Outy Bridge, by the way, just so that you know, as we come up to the next climb of the day. And it's a 3rd category climb. No, Outy. Outy Bridge.
That's what they say. Local.
That's what they say over here.
Outy Bridge.
Anyway, that's the next climb of the day. It's a 3rd category, but again, it's going to be very difficult going over the top. And then it's a full charge down into Sheffield. It doesn't really matter in this race whether you're going uphill or down-dale. There are always people who are ready to enjoy this stage of the Tour.
French gendarmes anxiously slowing down the riders. Yellow is danger in Europe, by the way, not red as it is in England. And the gendarmes waving those yellow flags to the riders of the Tour. Nasty left-hander there, all safely round though. Tucked in at the back is David Lopez, the Spanish member of Team Sky. He struggled yesterday a bit, but he's up in this big group here today. 22 kilometres to go as we speed towards Outy Bridge.
Well, Team Sky pretty much in control, but behind them it's Astana. That's the team of Vincenzo Nibali. He's the 3rd place rider in those riders in the turquoise. And there we can see the Pied de Côte de Outy Bridge. 2 kilometres to go, and 2 kilometres to the summit, and 22 kilometres to go. Now, Geraint Thomas. That group has swelled up quite a fair amount. I wonder if John Degenkolb, the big sprinter from Giant Shimano, who was dropped on a climb mid-Oak Stones a little bit further back there, and I wonder if he has managed to get himself back into this group. Just tagged on the back there is David Lopez. He's a great climber, and Lopez will be thinking further down the road. It's good to see that Team Sky have got a large number of riders in this selection. That's an indication that they're pretty much right on time. 4 riders in the front. Number 4 is Chris Froome, waving the flag for Great Britain, but I know he's got an awful lot of supporters in Kenya. They'll all be on the edge of their seats wondering whether or not Chris is going to do something today. And of course, go further down in the continent, you'll find a great amount of support for him in South Africa as well. Richie Porte, after that little accident, he's managed to get himself in. The average speed at the head of the race is 70 kilometers an hour. And that white jersey there is an indication, although we can't see him just yet towards the front, that Peter Sagan is in that group. And my Slovakian friends down here on the finish line, I'm sure, will be very excited about that. So 20 k's to go. The sign that you might just have spotted there, that's the end of the feeding station, and there is the sign for Uti Bridge at 20 kilometers to go. So that's the next climb on the horizon for these guys. Geraint Thomas not thinking about a chance of victory for himself here this afternoon, because this is all about Chris Froome. Froome riding in the middle of the pack there, right behind Richie Porte.
Now, is anybody going to try and go one before we get to Jenkin Road and its final steep slopes? 2 climbs left on what has been a tremendous day of racing, and there's still a lot of riders in the mix here who have ideas that they can win this day.
Well, one man that we can't really see towards the front, well, I think maybe just peeking through there, I can see a white jersey, and that is Peter Sagan. Now, he would love to try and get himself the victory. The other white jersey you can spot there is the world champion Rui Costa, and I noticed the Australian national champion Simon Gerrans. All now, those guys, Phil, I think, will wait for the final climb of the day, Jenkins Road, because they know that is where you can make the big difference. And I think we're going to see a real big showdown on this climb here. And this is Uti Bridge, as they say it locally.
20 kilometers to go for the head of the peloton in today's stage of the Tour de France. Jenkins Road is only about 800 meters, but it's got markers on it that say it's as steep as 25 to 30%. It is a real tough climb. A very dangerous descent off it in the town, and a twist and a turn, and there's the finish line. So that's where the strong will out. 1 kilometer to the summit of Uti Bridge, and the peloton are treating this with a great respect. No move yet at the front of the race.
No, but you can see Cannondale are very confident their man can do it. Over on the left-hand side, poor old Cyril Gauthier, they're grimacing because he now has to turn around the books and work for the man behind him, and that says Pierre Rolland. I think we may well see a good performance by Pierre Rolland in the overall picture of the Tour de France this year. Finished 4th in the Giro d'Italia, and he wasn't too far away from a podium. And Richie Porte, a lot of criticism for him in the early part of the season, but Porte, after that badly timed accident, has got himself right up to the front of the race.
Now, this is young Simon Yates here, the British rider on Orica Green Edge, riding his first Tour de France, second youngest man in the race. And we don't expect him to mix it with the most experienced riders yet, but he was there and he's hanging on in. He comes from Bury, which is Lancashire, so he's a red rose as we race in White Rose countryside as we climb this 3rd category climb. It's the last climb which will decide, but right now there's a lot of riders believe it can happen for them.
Well, I tell you what, baptism of fire for young Yates there to be in at the kill in a race like this, because this has been a serious race here this afternoon. The first part, the first 2.5 hours of this race was just laying down the foundations to tire everybody out for what is going to be a massive run in towards the finish.
But now we know why they respect the race today. It's been 9 climbs categorized today. There have been plenty more which have not been categorized. Now, as we climb towards the summit of Uti Bridge, they're going to be extremely nervous as they approach Jenkin Road. Now, Jenkin Road is in the heart of Sheffield. We'll be in Sheffield for a while. Chris Horner on the right, this amazing American, had all sorts of trouble yesterday. He had to chase for 25 miles to get back up to the race after crashes and punctures. He's back now and he's in the front group, and he's returning to this race following a serious injury.
Again, talking about veteran, and I don't mean that in any disparaging way, 42 years of age for the American. He was expected to ride the Giro d'Italia this year, knocked off in a tunnel. He was over on the right-hand side in the pink jersey. Can't see him anymore, but, you know, that was a nasty crash. It could have been not only a life-threatening crash initially, but a career-threatening crash. And here he is, riding himself back at the Tour de France.
On his 2nd day at the Tour, after a tough, tough day yesterday. Well, we'll see what he can do. He's the sort of man who might be able to pull it off. The flag of Ireland on the left there. Gaultier now stopped grimacing because he can see the summit perhaps. No, he started again, so he can't. Pierre Roland and Geraint Thomas in his slipstream.
You just spot Horner every now and again there. The pink sleeve just coming into view over on the right-hand side. I have to say, Phil, that is pretty impressive for a man who's coming back to the top end of the sport, because this has been a very difficult stage. Look at that acceleration as we come up to the top. That was Pierre Roland. Now he's knocking away there at a couple of points. He'll get himself 2 points over the top of Uti Bridge.
Yes, and he's aiming for the jersey he's worn before in that King of the Mountains. Nobody else coming through. A little check to see the gap. Not interested in pushing on, which is interesting now. Inside 19 kilometres to go. Pierre Roland, Jean-Claude Perrault, an amazing man for France as well, goes over in second place, so he gets 1 point for that.
Well, Perrault, a great mountain biker, a silver medalist in the Olympic Games. But I don't think they'll try and continue here. They'll wait for the main group to catch them back.
Well, you say that, but they've got themselves a little gap here. 2 Frenchmen on the attack. Well, we've just gone under 15 kilometres to go for the peloton. They're still chasing these 2 French riders here, Jean-Claude Perrault and Pierre Roland, as they continue now past the famous Sheffield football ground of Hillsborough Stadium here. No football today, though. It's a Sunday and the season's not on at the moment. These boys now are in more or less the city of Sheffield. They're certainly in the boundaries, and we'll circumnavigate a loop of some 7 kilometres to find Jenkin Hill, and that is going to surprise us today, I think. We're looking on the far right there. That's not the best position for that Sky rider.
I think he got caught out a fraction there, and he's going to have to ride that all on his own there. There you can see Pierre Roland looking very comfortable here. This is the kind of rider we will expect to see riding high in the big mountains, but here he's taken advantage of the short, sharp climbs of Yorkshire to get himself a lead. He's not getting too much cooperation from Jean-Claude Perrault, but I think the Frenchman who's with him from AG2R realizes that they're going to get caught on the run-in and the approach to Jenkins Road.
This isn't categorized, by the way, this climb.
No, it's not, but Pierre Roland says, well, I've got the power in the legs, I've got les fourmis dans les jambes, as the French would like to say this afternoon, so he's taken off everybody here again. They're enjoying the tour in Yorkshire, aren't they? Anywhere they can find some respite and somewhere to rest, and this is a move by Pierre Roland. Roland has left Perrault behind him now. He's got himself quite a nice gap. There'll be a slight slowing down now as they start to get themselves organised for the next climb. He won Alpe d'Huez back in 2011. He won La Toussuire the following year. He wore the King of the Mountains jersey on 2 occasions last year and finished 24th overall after an aggressive ride in the Tour.
A little bit of tempo riding from Team Cannondale. Peter Sagan is still down there, remember. This is a good course for him, but there are plenty of others who are going to feel it's a good course for them now. These riders, some will know, some will not know Jenkin Road. It is a very, very vicious climb. The crowd has swelled somewhat all day on that climb. Pierre Roland, I wonder if he knows it, because he's a very good climber. 11 days in the leader's jersey in the King of the Mountains last year.
Well, a man who can win Alpe d'Huez will not be too scared of the climbs we've got to throw up, but the problem is he's got a large group of riders behind him and a lot of organised teams who are trying to pull it back together. And obviously Cannondale on a high this afternoon. They know that if their man Peter Sagan can get himself the victory today, he will get himself the yellow jersey. He won 2 stages of the Tour. 2012 was La Toussuire. Last year he was very aggressive. Look at Team Cannondale now. There you can see in that white jersey are about 7th or 8th position, just a little bit further back with the lime green helmet. That's Peter Sagan. And the Slovakian flag, Phil, it's all up and down this finishing straight here. They've come a long way to see our Peter.
And he's not out of it by any manner of means yet. There's a lot of riders here. They're just waiting to see the slopes of Jenkin Road now. That's right, it's a left-hand turn. We go onto it. And we drove it this morning and we were quite surprised. I'd never heard of Jenkin Road before. It's an area of Sheffield I'd never seen. We're going to see it firsthand in a minute with the Tour de France on it. Pierre Rolland is still gritting his teeth here. He's committed now, coming up 12 kilometres out. He's a quality rider, this boy, and he could well hold them off, and they're going to gang up against him now. On the far left, the white jersey of the world champion gesticulating there to one of the riders, because that is Rui Costa, and this is an absolutely perfect course for him as well. Valverde is in there, so too Peter Sagan. Chris Froome could even come out and play on this particular road today.
Well, this man has taken the bull by the horns, Pierre Rolland, this afternoon, but you've got the big organised chase coming from Team Cannondale. His gap is still holding at 13 seconds. That's around about 250 metres. When they come to Jenkins Hill, they would almost be able to reach out and put their hands on his back. They're going to be so close to him. The big names now are all waiting. Look, just a little bit further back to the right-hand side there, you can see the Italian national champion, Vincenzo Nibali. He's looking, I may well be looking for the victory here this afternoon.
He rode yesterday near the front, and he's ridden all day today. He's the first turquoise jersey on the right of our picture there. It's slightly different to the rest because he has got the trickle of the Italian bands around his chest as the new road race champion. Back up with the leader, 10 seconds the gap. He's not going anywhere, but they're not going anywhere either. That's the better way to look at it. Is the half pint full, or is it half empty? As the Group Maillot Jaune falls away from our screens for another day. Now he's nearly 15 minutes behind Marcel Kittel, and he'll be 20 by the time he gets to the finish. Rolland permits himself the privilege of looking over his shoulder. We are scooping down now, this left-hander. We are just 5 kilometres from Jenkins Road. Once over the top, we're just about the same to the finish.
Yes, so it's going to take them that 5 kilometres to get to the climb. Because of these speeds, it's going to take them around about 5 minutes to start the climb, and then they change their gearing right from the biggest gear that they've got almost to the smallest gear that they've got for this small 800-metre ascent, which tips out at 18–90% at some points. This team are sacrificing themselves. This is Cannondale, a team that originally was based outside of Connecticut, but the headquarters now is across the border in Canada, but it's still a bicycle manufacturer that sponsors one of the top teams in the world, and they're looking today for a yellow jersey at the end of the stage.
This is the lone figure of Pierre Rolland of France, the survivor of the breakaway. 10 kilometres to go now, and Cannondale are stretching. Cannondale are launching the first moves here now as they go under 10 kilometres. That's about 8 seconds.
Well, this is what it's like, Phil, when you are riding for a man who you really believe in. And these three guys we're looking at here on the front of the main field, they believe in Peter Sagan. They believe that this man is going to be the yellow jersey at the end of the day. They will ride their hearts out right now to try and put Peter Sagan in an ideal position at the start of this massive final climb of the day. Yes, it's only at 5 kilometres to go, but it'll only take them around about 5 minutes from the top of the final climb to get to the finish. But watch out for the corners, because coming round those corners in the car this morning on the way to the finish, I thought, oh, thank goodness it's dry, and it still is.
Now, Rolland, 3 kilometres to the foot of the Côte de Jenkins Road at the moment. Peter Sagan I saw sitting 12 men down in this straight line. He wears a white jersey, remember. He's got closer now. He's just peeping into our picture. He knows what his team are doing, and so do the rest of the race. They know Sagan is a big danger on this stage now. And Pierre Rolland just gets on with the job and hopes they forget him. Unlikely chance now. We are in the streets of Sheffield, the former city of steel here, as it was until about the 80s. And now we are seeing these boys pace him towards Jenkins Road.
Well, the tough thing for a guy like Pierre Rolland in the dark green jersey at the front there is he's been riding like this on his own at a fairly steady tempo. Once he gets to that climb, it's going to be very, very hard. It's as if somebody's taken a high lift jack and jacked up the road in front of him and then notched it up a couple of more sections there. Look at that. Not very much. That gap is no longer 10 or 8 seconds. It's all over Pierre Rolland now. Now what they're going to be starting to do is to queue up for this next big climb. And this is the climb of Jenkins Road. It's going to be very, very hard indeed. Geraint Thomas is right up there. I'm looking for the white jersey because there he is in the middle with the lime green shorts. Peter Sagan leads the best young rider competition. That's why he's right in there. Rui Costa is also in there in a white jersey, but his jersey's got the rainbow bands of world champion right round the middle.
8 kilometers to go, just 8 kilometers, 5 miles. The peloton comes back together again now. Now the men who still feel strong think this is my day, this is my stage in the Tour de France, and it is Orica Greenedge on the right now who believes it could be their day with Simon Gerrans, the man who fell in the sprint in collision with Cavendish yesterday.
The one man that they are working for there, though, is Michael Albacini. He's also a good rider when it comes to this kind of finish. He likes this kind of finish. He's an explosive rider. These guys at the back, well, they're pretty much giving up the ghost here this afternoon. Simon Gerrans' area is 181. I think Orica Greenedge may well have given the nod to Albacini. That is Albacini in 3rd, 4th position there at the back end of the line of Orica Greenedge. Team Cannondale, though, in the lime green jerseys, they won't give up. Now moving up into 3rd or 4th position. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup. That's because we're going underneath the railway line there. Makes a bit of a problem with the pictures there, but there in 6th, 7th position in that white jersey, lime green helmet, that is Peter Sagan. He's looking for this. He knows if he can be first across the line today, there's no counting, there's no nothing. He's going to be the overall leader.
This is all about the battle now of Jenkin Road, and that's why the pace is so high. It's position now. Once they see the corner, they don't see the climb till they go around the bend, and there it is. They're all fighting for front positions here now, and Orica Greenedge are going to be left with only Albacini on the front if they keep that pace up. There is the massive crowd all watching with suspense on the big screens here. This has been one of the most remarkable days in the history of the Tour de France as far as the public has been concerned, and it has been a superb race as well.
Well, that's Albacini just popping around there. You can see in 2nd position. He knows what's going to happen next. It's going to be a massive, big attack. We're not far now from the very sharp left-hand bend. At the back of the pack, well, I don't think it's going to be Simon Gerrans. He is filmed today paying for that very nasty accident he had. But you know what? It's pretty impressive that he's still in here at the moment. You can just see through his shorts there, the bandages across those injuries from yesterday. Everybody now wants to be in the first 10 or 15 positions. Lynn, about 4th or 5th position, is a white jersey, a lime green helmet. That's Peter Sagan. He really wants this today. Cast my mind back to that finish just outside of Liège. It's a similar kind of finish where Peter Sagan surprised a certain Fabian Cancellara.
We're about to hit the slopes now of Jenkin Road here. Watch out, and he's got an advantage, Orica Greenedge, as they go around the corner, and Albacini in 2nd place. But now, this is now a very steep climb. It's a shame we can't see how steep it is, but the legs will tell you, and watch how they crack one by one on this climb. It is a real grovel and gets steeper.
Well, the rider on the front for Liquigas and Cannondale is really putting the hammer down. He's riding his own personal race here for as long as he can. Orica Greenedge are disappearing one by one. Albacini's looking pretty good. You know, when he rode the Tour of Romandy in April, he won stages 1, 2 and 4. He was almost unbeatable. Moving up now, there is Alberto Contador, and this is the kind of climb that he likes. Right behind him is Vincenzo Nibali. Chris Froome is in there as well. These big boys are coming out on only the 2nd day of the Tour de France. So much they feel that this 2nd stage is important. Up into 5th place. Look at Peter Sagan there, grimacing. He's got to hold on. He's not got the climbing ability of some of these guys like Contador, but there he goes.
Sagan on the right, but I think he suddenly realised he's mixed himself up with the heads of state in this race. Chris Froome has had to come up on the back wheel of Alberto Contador. On our right, Vincenzo Nibali has pierced the front. This is turning out to be a battle of the men who expect to be on the podium in Paris. And here we are on a little road in a back street of the city of Sheffield in Yorkshire. Contador heads them up Jenkin Road.
Well, it gets very, very steep, this climb, but you can see Alberto. This is amazing. As you said, it's a little street in the back of Sheffield somewhere. Look at this. Vincenzo Nibali, Alberto Contador, Chris Froome. This is an amazing sight to see. Froome is down into 5th position. Sagan is fighting. He's probably turning himself inside out at the moment. Coming up there on the left-hand side in that red jersey, there is TJ Van Garderen.
Yeah, Van Garden's coming up on the back wheel of Jurgen van den Broek, the other rider in red, another man for the overall who loves the climbs. Peter Sagan has got to the front, and he's just showing them now as an attack, and it had to come. Chris Froome has launched it, and now that's going to cause a reaction, and it's caused a reaction too. But Contador doesn't have the kick Chris Froome has at the moment. TJ Van Garderen is trying to get on his back wheel. These are the names who will win the Tour de France in Paris, and they've come together at the front with 5 kilometres to go. Chris Froome gets the points on the top of Jenkins Road.
That's not important, it's the psychological blow. Look at this one more time. He felt the moment. He rides with feeling, Chris Froome here. Right onto his wheel, though, almost immediately was TJ Van Garderen. He knows this corner. This is the corner I was telling you about. They're all around there. Froome attacked at the top of that climb, Phil, because he wanted to get into this corner nice and safe. Look at that. Chris Froome, a single point, and that's not important for him this afternoon. And there is a little move going on the far side from Astana. Nibali is into 4th position. Fuglsang moving up there. TJ Van Garderen in 3rd, 4th for Peter Sagan. Sagan will not hit the front now, Phil. All he wants to do is stay in a comfortable position if he can. There is confirmation, number 42, Jakob Fuglsang from Team Astana. He will try and keep the pace nice and high if he can, because he's trying to set this up for the man in 4th or 5th position there, Vincenzo Nibali, the champion of Italy. What a finale we're looking at.
Well, the other American is also here, Andrew Talansky, who was his teammate. Slachter was the man that split the head of state away from the field earlier on today. 3.9 kilometres to go. Fuglsang is there, Peter Sagan is there, TJ Van Garderen, Chris Froome, Alberto Contador, Andrew Talansky, Alejandro Valverde, you name them. The top riders, we expect them to be the top riders in the Tour de France, are in this group. And now Sagan pushes on. Now, he's not a pure sprinter. That's why we thought he would do well. He is a man, one of the few sprinters who can actually get over hills as well.
Well, you know, this man is a bike racer. He's not, he could actually sit in the group and wait because he is the fastest sprinter in that group. But no, forget it. He wants to go out there. I remember in Gent-Wevelgem when he won that race, he was in a small group of riders. Look at the way he's going around these corners. This man can handle a bike. He can sprint. He can pull a wheelie at the top of a massive big col in the Tour de France if he wants to, but he wants to race right the way down to the finish line. He's not going to sit back and wait for the sprint. He really keeps the pressure on all of the time.
Sagan, Fuglsang, Froome, TJ Van Garderen, Contador, Nibali, Alejandro Valverde, Jürgen van den Broek. They're the riders in the line. Now we've got an attack on the far side of the road. How long can they keep on countering the move? Because this, to me, looks like it is attack. It's Fuglsang gone again here as we run along the banks of the River Don here in Sheffield. We're closing in on the finish. 2.5 kilometres to go. TJ Van Garderen has latched on to the back wheel of Fuglsang.
I have a funny feeling that is Greg Van Avermaet who's come out of that group there, because TJ Van Garderen is a little bit further back, but the reaction now is coming from Team Sky.
It is indeed Van Avermaet who's come out here. Former Belgian champion gets onto the back wheel. Jürgen van den Broek has come up into 3rd place, looking over to see what's happening. Well, the gap is closing down again. This is amazing. A stage which is not seen as a mountain stage, bringing together for the win all of the contenders in the Tour de France. I think that's a respectful reply to Yorkshire for 2 incredible days of cycling.
Alejandro Valverde having a quick look across there at Peter Sagan. Sagan now has to be very attentive, because if somebody slips away in these final few meters, they could get to the big surprise here. It's Valverde starting to close it down, but Sagan attentive as ever. He's up into 3rd position.
This looks like Perot has gone again here, but he's sat back. No, it isn't. It is it Bardet who's gone? It might be Romain Bardet on the left. It is. The youngster on the left side is a pretty sensational bike rider, but he's gone too soon. Now Nibali has gone. Nibali has launched an incredible attack. He's been waiting for this one. He's been hovering near the front of the peloton for 2 days now. Well, he suddenly found there's fresh air out there. He's gone at 1.8 kilometres to go, and they're all looking at each other. Vincenzo Nibali makes the move.
Well, this is a phenomenal move. Let's not forget, you're looking here at the national champion of Italy as he makes that move there. Peter Sagan is being caught out. They're going to actually try and bury Peter Sagan here because he won't have any friends. They know just how fast he is when it comes down to the finish.
He won last Sunday in Italy. It was the championship of Italy. Is he going to win this Sunday in England? And it'll be stage 2 of the Tour de France, because they're all looking at each other. He might have that one moment of hesitation which delivers the goods to his doorstep.
Well, he looks over his shoulder. He's got air between him and the rest of that group, and he mustn't look back too many times now. They've lost it all now. They've lost the impetus here because they know that in that group they have got Peter Sagan. Sagan is the fastest man in the group. It's a long, hard ride, though, for Vincenzo Nibali inside the final kilometre.
1 kilometre to go, 1,000 metres, even less for Vincenzo Nibali. He's hanging on in there. There's no more hills on this very hilly day in Yorkshire. He's on a flat approach to the finishing line now. They have got to work it out behind. Chris Froome is on the front down there. Sagan is shadowing him. Those hesitations have cost them the stage. Vincenzo Nibali is going to win this stage at 800 metres to go. Those legs must be absolutely screaming. Look at the time. 5 hours, 7 minutes. Now Chris Froome packs the sprint. He finished 6th yesterday. We've got the world champion trying to dig now. It's the white jersey of the world champion. The crowd have realised Chris Froome is making a chase to the world champion. But I think it's all too late. At 450 metres, it's the shades of the world championship here. I don't think Rui Costa can pull this one back. He's just asked Chris Froome to come past him. Froome won't do that at this stage. 300 metres and 250. 7 days after winning the Championship of Italy, Vincenzo Nibali is going to win stage 2 of the Tour de France. They're still coming, but it's all too late. Chris Froome has got no support. They're trying to beat Chris Froome and not catch Vincenzo Nibali. The final kick for the line. The champion of Italy, his first days back in the saddle, is now the champion of Sheffield. He wins at the stage of the Tour de France, and I think that they cut away. It was Van Avermaet who may have got second place. We'll check that on the photo. Unbelievable, Paul, and what a great stage.
Well, what a stage to win, especially when you're the newly crowned champion of Italy. And that little time gap at the finishing line there, Phil, is going to give him the overall lead as well. But what a little bit of damage has been done on this second stage of the Tour de France by Vincenzo Nibali.
Well, they'll come in. This is Fabian Cancellara here, bringing home the next group. The average speed today, it's incredible. 39 kilometres now, 25 miles an hour, as Cancellara brings that group in, just detached on the climb of Jenkin Hill. There's the massive crowd down there watching on the big screen in the centre of the city of Sheffield, a little bit away from where the riders are actually crossing the line. It has been a marvellous day out, and the Crucible Theatre, the famous theatre here in Sheffield, where the World Snooker Championships are annually held as well. There he is, Vincenzo Nibali, the man who is back. It's only his second win of the year, but it's all happened in just 8 days of cycling. Back out on course now. They'll continue to come in for about 25 minutes at least today. There is Andy Schleck in third wheel here as he comes in. Well, they have ridden the course of this race today so tremendously. A little shrug of the shoulders there by the injured Simon Gerrans. He was looking forward to that stage, but it wasn't to be for him.
Well, you see a little chat coming up there as they come up towards the finish line. Now, they know they've raced in a very difficult race here this afternoon. Simon Gerrans, well, it was a bit too much of an ask after hitting the ground at around about 40 miles an hour yesterday, but this man timed it to perfection. He felt the race here this afternoon. Italian champion, he wants to win the Tour de France this year, and what a good psychological victory he's got over everybody else and all of his other rivals.
Well, the second stage of the Tour de France, and already there are time gaps between the favourites. This is already shaping up as a cracking race, and Vincenzo Nibali, as well as being the stage winner, is the new leader of it. We'll take a quick break, hear from the protagonists, and also hear from these two. Up until last weekend, this man had no victories this season. Last weekend, he won the flag that he's pointing to, national champion of Italy. Today, he's won stage 2 of the Tour de France and taken the yellow jersey into the bargain. Stage result first, there it is, Vincenzo Nibali ahead of Greg Van Avermaet, one of the men who'd set his stall out to win this stage. Mikhail Kwiatkowski of OPQS. Peter Sagan, who looked as though he might have the stage in the bag at one point. Tony Galopan, Mikel Albertini, Andrew Talansky and Bauke Mollema were the top 8. And that's what this does to the overall standings. Nibali is the new leader of the race. Peter Sagan is up to second. Greg Van Avermaet third. Mikel Albertini fourth. Chris Froome is up to 5th ahead of Bauke Mollema, and then it's Jürgen van den Broek and Alberto Contador. Well, first of all, I think we should give you some credit, because you've been saying all day that you thought Nibali, and I'm not sure you've ever said it on air, so let's just let the public know that you picked it.
Thanks, Gary. That's brilliant. Yeah, I'm learning the ropes. I must say those things on air. But yeah, no, it was a classic sort of finish for Nibali. He's an opportunist, he's a great bike racer, and tactically extremely astute. And I think that's what he showed today.
Yeah, and good for the race, because we'd come in thinking, God, is it going to be a Froome-Contador two-man fight? Here's somebody who hasn't been in form all season coming into form now.
Well, a lot of good tactical riders at the top of that climb there, and you could see they all thought, I've got seconds to make this stick, and he was really smart. Big lose though, Peter Sagan just made himself so visible. Everybody knew he was going to win the sprint, so as soon as there's attacks, everybody's looking at him to chase.
And this was the one that Chris Froome made going up the top of Jenkins Road.
This was posturing, really.
And this is exactly what he did last year on stage 2 in Corsica, where we had that steep climb near the finish. I think it was there. He'd attacked over the top, and it's more a primary reason is just so he's safe in the descent, because it is a bit of a sketchy descent at high speed in that situation.
It doesn't hurt to test your legs, though, and test your rivals' legs and how
I
quickly
think
they
there's a
react.
bit of posture, and everybody sort of looking at each other and just seeing how they are. I'm not sure how much we can read into it.
No.
The descent in there of Peter Sagan was quite something to watch.
Oh, there's one of those corners. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys who can descend well as pros, and he's just on another level. It's terrifying when I watch it. But I mean, if we see all of these things we saw Contador. I think what Peter Sagan perhaps did wrong was using his whole team up before the climb. He didn't need to do that. All he needed to do today was win the sprint, and so he needed teammates over the climb. He didn't need to make the race on the climb. He had to have at least one teammate left for the other side to ride into the finish, and they used it all up on that run-in.
And it looked to me, I might be wrong, as though people started looking at Sagan after Nibali went away, and that helped Nibali.
Well, he'd gone to the front for the descent, which is in front of everybody. He's really visible, and as soon as somebody attacks, well, everybody goes, well, you've got the most to lose, and those pauses are exactly what Nibali needed, exactly that.
And everybody knew he was the yellow jersey on the road. It was his responsibility. He effectively had yellow on him, so he was up to him to shut everything down.
Yes, except I suppose that in the grand scheme of things, Froome and Contador don't really care about Sagan. They really care about this man, and all right, they've only lost 2 seconds, but they've let him get away.
Well, everybody's had such a hard day. It was costing nothing to ride hard for an extra kilometre, so he just thought, the stage wind's there, I'm going to go after it, and the rest were just watching each other, seeing who's going to do all the chasing. I suppose the one that wants to lose the least is Chris Froome, actually. I'm surprised that he didn't press Richie Porte into service here. Maybe he had nothing less to give.
I think they saved that. I mean, seeing it, the fact that Chris is so active at the end, he's obviously feeling incredibly good. And I think all the GC guys were. Contador showed how strong he was. He basically did most of Jenkins on his own. And I think, yeah, we just what will possibly be the final 3 on GC at the front at one point. Contador, Froome, Nibali. Probably not in that order, but...
Yeah. For a moment, it looked as though Rui Costa was going to bring him back, didn't it? And obviously, once he realised that it wasn't going to happen, he faded back, I think finished around 14.
Yeah, I think that would have, because it was Rui Costa and Nibali that battled at the World Championships last year in Italy, so I think that would have been a never-ending, it would have ended up being Nibali's nemesis for life if Rui Costa had caught him.
Great ride by TJ Van Garderen, though. He looked really strong there, better than I've seen him for quite a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's optimistic. He's had a bit of an up-and-down year, and he's still young, so I think he puts an awful lot of pressure on himself, and it's been announced that he's the sole leader here for BMC, so that's going to give him and the team a lot of confidence in their decision.
All right, yeah, can't extrapolate too much, but good to see TJ at least showing good legs on stage 2. No riders in the can as far as interviews are concerned yet, so we'll get in a quick break. A man who knows he can afford to look over his shoulder because he's got the stage in the bag. Champion of Italy and now leader of the 2014 Tour de France, Vincenzo Nibali. The old yellow jersey, by the way, Marcel Kittel, is still rolling in, but they've already started the jersey presentations without him. So let's catch up with them with Phil Liggett.
So we go to the podium, we see the man in turquoise for Astana. He's Italian and he's the Italian champion, and Vincenzo Nibali, for the first time in his 4-tour career, he gets a stage win in the Tour de France.
And at the end of the day, he'll also be looking at the yellow jersey, because that 2-second advantage he had over everybody else will put him on top of the leaderboard in that competition. I think changing his Italian national champions jersey for a yellow tunic at the end of the day I think it'll be quite a nice day on the Italian camp tonight.
As he gets the handshakes from Gary Verity there, that's the man responsible for bringing this race to Yorkshire. The rumours before the race even started is he would be knighted by the end of this, and well, after what he's done for this county, I think it's the least they can do for him. Vincenzo Nibali shakes hands with all of the dignitaries here in Sheffield now. Delighted with his last 8 days, especially because he was shouted at by his team manager for not getting the results. Well, they're coming at the right time when the whole world is watching him on television.
Well, you know, they say, Phil, you can't keep a good man down, and certainly I think that was a little bit of liberation for Nibali when he got himself for that national championships. But the next prize, I think, will be one that he will really nurture and enjoy, because as we hear the anthem once again, it's the yellow jersey.
Yes, this was the lot of Marcel Kittel in Harrogate, but now it is the situation for Vincenzo Nibali, his first ever yellow jersey as well. He wore the white jersey when he came to the Tour in 2008, when he finished 18th, by the way, for 5 days as the best newcomer. Now he's got the coveted golden fleece of the Tour de France, and the line as well. They all want those lines. Tomorrow, as Paul Sherwin has said, he should keep this jersey because we expect a big sprint on them all tomorrow, and they should all come home in the same time. Talking of coming home, 15 minutes has passed by and the peloton continues to arrive. The man shrugging his shoulders is Bernard Hinault, the last French winner of the Tour de France over 30 years ago. So, as we're looking here now, he steps off. That's how he did it. This has been a most incredible day for the Italian, the next leader of the Tour de France.
Now then, 19 minutes and counting since the stage winner crossed the line. And there is Marcel Kittel leading in his giant Shimano team, and actually quite a sizable chunk of the field. Only 21 riders in that front group.
The damage was on mid-Hope Stones, actually. It was down to 24 at that point, and there was some regrouping, but such an attritional day. They've just been going up or down all day, and it's taken its toll.
And Dave, Marcel Kittel wasn't helped by the fact that he got an atrocious bike change when he had a mechanical.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it was... I think he knew what he was in for today, whatever happened, so sometimes those things happen. They're a bit of a blessing in disguise in a way. But yeah, I don't think it was... It's just it's split apart everywhere. There's no clear gruppetto, there's no clear peloton. It's just micro groups everywhere, which happens very rarely.
Now then, Peter Sagan started the day in the white jersey. And there he is getting the green jersey. He will be wearing that as of right tomorrow. Brian Cocard had it today. And you think he messed up the finish, or his team did?
I wouldn't say. I think maybe they were a little bit overconfident, or were expecting it to whittle down to a smaller group on that climb. I think that was actually probably what they were expecting, to ride into it. He used up basically 3 teammates in the run-in to the climb. One of them even attacked halfway up the climb. And I think what he really needs to do was just actually bluff it and let other teams take control, then try and get his guys over the climb to then control the group afterwards. Because he was left solo trying to defend, and you can't do it when, especially when you're Peter Sagan, everybody wants to beat you.
And Chris, we don't want to get too excited about 2 seconds on GC, but it's got to be a big psychological boost for Nibali, given the season he's had to this point.
Well, I think on stage 1 we discussed the fact that he seemed to be coming to form. He'd been saying bullishly in the press that be the case as well. I think we saw a glimpse of that today. You're right in that we can't read too much in today, but we can definitely see who's fresh and who's ready for fighting and who was up for it. So I think he's definitely in the mix for this tour. And some good downhill sections as well, some good downhill finishes that'll be good for him.
So it might...
The newly crowned green jersey for today, Peter Sagan. Happy or a little frustrated? It was tactically very difficult for you today.
Yeah, I'm happy because I stay good. I've been on the front, and today it was very hard stage. I also, I don't know, I did 4th. Nobody done work on the front because we was a little group, and then, yeah, everybody's watching me when how I move, and then I did, I got some attack from another riders because I wanted to come to the sprint, but yeah, a little bit crazy, but yeah, it's okay. I take green jersey and this is good.
Nibali's attack was very strong though.
Yeah, I am happy for Vincenzo because it's my friend, and I am happy when he won.
Thanks, and well done today. Cheers, Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, ex-teammate of Peter Sagan. Now then, Chris Froome rode very well today, took the single point at the top of Jenkin Road. Let's hear from him.
For me personally, it was about staying out of trouble, staying at the front, and avoiding any major issues or big splits. So.
But it just looked like a bit of a show of strength at the top of the hill.
That's
Chris,
your point of view.
Chris, day two of the tour, already some pretty serious racing. What was it like out there?
Yeah, really tough racing, but I mean the crowds were just incredible. I mean, going up Holme Moss, for example, I just had goosebumps all over me just with the crowds there. It was massive, absolutely massive.
Yeah, you've got to say, as well as being a spectacular opening 2 days and full of crowds, well-designed race.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a course like this, they've got so many hills to choose from around here, and the last couple of years, they've really started to do this to shake it up, to stop it being a prescriptive stage. That small climb just made all the difference today.
No, it's great. I think the best thing, I mean, for me as a pro cyclist, is there weren't that many crashes, which was good, because I think we were all expecting that. And we've seen in the last few years, the first 2 days, some pretty, basically just unlucky crashes. And even with all the people, miraculously, there's not been any serious incidents, which is great.
No, we've seen a couple of riders, you know, gesticulating and pushing people out of the way, but that's bound to happen. No major lunacy. Jill, I believe, has Geraint Thomas with us, so let's get over to Jill.
Geraint, we saw you working hard on the front there. Just how lumpy was that today?
Yeah, it was hard. There was once we turned right off sort of the main road with about 35k to go, it was just real steep up and down, and Garmin really put the hammer down, and there's only been 20 odd guys left, but so once it all eased up, I just thought, you know, take a bit of control, keep Froome and Richie right at the front out of trouble, and yeah, it worked out good in the end.
Just to see the GC contenders, they're really stretching their legs, trying to impose themselves in that last few kilometres.
Yeah, it was great racing, you know. I think those roads are really good, and yeah, that Jenkins road at the end really sort of, you know, made it interesting racing, and for sure they all sort of tested each other out, and I think, well, all just were pretty good, I guess.
Yep, G laconic as always. Just looking on the internet, apparently Vincenzo Nibali first Italian yellow jersey since 2009. Didn't realise it had been that long.
It's amazing, really, isn't it? Everybody's been focusing on the Giro.
No, I mean, and it's like, I think we've spoken about it before, the fact is Vincenzo has proven at nailing his objectives, and he's not scared to hold off the gas and let kind of run away and try and prove that he is good. I mean, I think we saw the Dauphiné, he was actually probably a lot better than his result would dictate, and he's obviously focused incredibly with confidence on this race.
Yeah. And he's got Fuglsang. I mean, Fuglsang rode in the absence of Nibali last year, finished 7th on his own, and we saw, you know, Fuglsang going off the front to soften people up before Nibali made his move today.
There was a lot of people in the mix today, and personally, I'm quite interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow as well, because that's going to be a wholly different day of racing again, all in the same country. We've got wholly different terrain, so it's been really windy, but they're going to feel it tomorrow.
And we started the day talking about the sad departure of Mark Cavendish. Michał Kwiatkowski was their GC man, even with Cav here, but all the more responsibility on him now, and he was up there finishing 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's amazing that they got that strength and depth. I mean, he could have just as easily won today. He's an incredible bike rider. So for him, it's incredibly sad for all of us that Cav's not here now, but at the same time for Kwiatkowski, another door is opened. So I think it's going to be an opportunity for him to grab.
All right. So, no Cav, but another great day on the tour in Yorkshire. Yorkshire is done now. Big transfer tonight down to Cambridge, and then tomorrow, stage 3, Cambridge to London on the Mall. See you for that at noon tomorrow.